What's up, guys? New episode. Chris Basil builds. Got some first gen mayhem. So, I think I've talked before about my '85 Dodge Ram Charger. It's been my pride and joy for a long time. I've had it for a couple years. It's a running, driving truck the way it is. It's got a 360 in it, 4-barrel, Holley carb, 4x4, if you couldn't figure that out. And it's a pretty good truck. It's got a little rust. I mean, it's a Ram Charger, it's a Dodge, so it's got crappy paint. The truck sat for a long time. I got it sitting for 12 years, something like that. It's got nice original interior. It's a cool buzzer that never stops. It drives me insane. Headliner saggy. But this truck, it just rips. It does what it does. It does what it needs to do. I've always liked it, but there's always room for improvement. Ever since I bought this truck, I've kind of dreamed about how cool would it be to swap a 12-valve Cummins into it. And I just happened to come across a first-gen 12-valve for a price that I could afford, which, as most of you know, is difficult sometimes. They're pretty expensive. I mean, the first gens are probably the most reasonable of the bunch, but, all 12 valves are expensive. I mean, usually you see motors listed for sale online, sitting on the ground, not even in a car, for $2,500 or maybe more. Who knows the condition, no testing, whatever. I bought both of these vehicles from the same person. The Ram Charger wasn't owned by my friend, but he hooked me up with the deal to get it. This Ram I actually bought from him. It was his son's truck. They were gonna convert it to a dually, make it a flatbed, and convert it to a standard because it's a 3-speed automatic, no overdrive. Which brings me to the next issue with this truck. Also a running and driving truck. It's got 200,000 on the clock, but the engine seems to run pretty good, and it doesn't really have any blow-by that I can tell. If you look at it closely, you can see the rear axle sticks out a shade farther than the front. Well, in an attempt to convert it to a dually, they put a second-gen rear end under it, which really isn't that big of a deal. It's a Dana 70. It's strong enough to hold the truck, but this is a 3-speed non-overdrive transmission. So with this setup, the max speed of this truck, pedal to the floor, is about 55 miles an hour, which by today's standards really isn't fast enough. So I've been on the hunt since I bought the truck. I kind of like the truck, so I'm almost kind of going against the idea of wanting to swap the engine out of it and knock it over the head and scrap it. But it's finding out that it's actually pretty hard to find a Dana 70 rear end with a 307 rear gears. I don't want to go into the whole story. If you follow me on Facebook or on Instagram, you already know what I'm talking about. I've been looking for one for a while. The closest one I can find is like 800, 700 miles, or not, 400 miles away, 7-8 hours away, and it's like almost $1,000, which is about almost half of what I paid for the truck. So it's getting difficult for me to justify spending that just on a rear end, just for a truck that, I mean, it's a first-gen Dodge. They both kind of look the same. Crappy paint. It is what it is. So here's where my thoughts are. Do I save this truck? Do I find a rear end for it? Do I paint it? Do I make it a slick little 2-wheel drive first-gen rip around 20 mile per gallon truck and not knock it over the head? Or do I take the chance and swap it in the Ram Charger? I've done a tad bit of research on the job. Apparently doing the swap isn't impossible. I mean, I'm sure you guys cared. You could probably look on the internet and see a lot of people have already done it. By the way, a second-gen seat in a first-gen sucks. Don't do it. The biggest issue you run across is that even though this has a 727 torque light transmission in it, like the Ram Charger, it doesn't sit the same way. So when you put this big-ass engine in that truck, even though these frames are pretty similar and the mounting points, I mean, this engine will set in that truck no problem. That's not a problem. What ends up happening is your driveline ends up being much longer on the backside. So what you come across is your rear drive shaft ends up being really short. We're talking about a 4x4 here, so if you've got weird drive shaft angles and a scenario like that, you end up with a 4x4 that doesn't go 4x4ing very good. And again, I hate to say it, exterior wise, you guys might be saying, well, that thing's a piece of shit, why do you care? It's really not that bad. It's in really actually very good condition for what it is. For a 1990 Dodge Ram heavy duty truck, it's in really good shape. It's got very little rust, a little teeny tiny bit on the rocker that you might be able to see on camera. The rest of the truck is good. It's pretty straight. The bed's pretty decent. I mean, it's a 3/4 ton truck. The bed's not perfect. It's been used, probably more than most other trucks. It's a heavy duty truck. This thing was, it's not like today. It's not like you go buy a truck like this, which is my 6.7 diesel that I've had for a long time. Anybody that knows me knows it's pretty much my daily. You know, you don't buy a 3/4 ton truck to daily drive, unless if you're me, because they're rough, they ride rough. The new one doesn't really get that good of mileage, but yeah, so I'm really stuck in a conundrum, and I want to reach out to you guys, the few of you that watch my videos. What do you guys think I should do? Should I save it? Or should I take the chance and swap it? I don't know. What do you do? I got some time to think about it. I mean, I think I'm going to keep trying to source that rear end if I can. Because even if I do end up doing the swap, I am going to keep this truck the way it is for a while. Because I really don't have the space to do this swap here at the house. And I'm definitely not going to do it in the middle of the winter time. So worst case scenario, I'm just going to drive this truck around this winter. And if that ends up being with this rear end and barely any brakes and no parking brake and with the rigging that it has, so be it. It won't be a highway rig. But if I find a rear end and it's worth, you know, a decent price, I'll do it. That's pretty much it for this build update on this. Just really kind of playing with my emotions is all I'm doing. Any of you guys that follow me on Instagram know that I also picked up this first gen. It's a first gen video. This 1971 Honda N600 AN600 sedan model. Still got the original engine in it. I do have the seat, a lot of the interior. I've got these really cool old school race wheels that I don't have in the video, but you'll see them. I'm going to do some more videos on this thing. This car ended up being a lot rustier than I thought it was. The whole basically floor is more or less just the top of the gas tank. So a little bit, I got a bunch of extra parts with it, but none of these parts really are any good. The door doesn't have a rust hole like the one that's on it does. The extra glass is okay and not cracked, but it's dirty. These fenders are all rusty. All these parts are bent. I mean, I've got like 40 front bumpers, but they're all rusty and bent, so I don't know. The guy I bought it from also has a couple other ones that are in a little better shape. This thing's got some provenance to me that's important. This Automobiles International of Tulsa. That's the precursor to the car dealership that my dad ran. And I think, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm under the impression that this may have been a little, you know, spec race vehicle for a guy that used to partially own the dealership that my dad worked at. I'm going to do some little bit more personal research and figure this information out, because if it is, I'm going to have to save the car just for the sake of it, of what it is. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick rundown on this. I'm probably going to pump out another video here in the next couple days about my Prius. I know you guys really love that car. I mean, kind of a joke, nobody loves it, but it's a cool car. I like it. It's a good daily. My poor Prius has some brake issues. Its brake actuator went bad, and it was sitting in front of my house for a couple days while I was waiting to source an actuator, which I luckily found one at the scrapyard, so hopefully it's good. This is the part right here. Believe it or not, while it was sitting in front of my house for 4 or 5 days, someone jacked it up and cut the catalytic converter out from it. Apparently it's a bit of a ring going on in Tulsa right now, so that's pretty rad. That's another $500 I wasn't expecting to spend, but you know, at first I was like, screw it, I'll just scrap the car, who cares, sell it for parts, but man, I hate to do it. I mean, I know you guys are saying it's a Prius, who gives a shit, why'd you buy it in the first place? I don't know, it's a great question, but I do like the car. It's a great lake runner, it gets amazing mileage, it's pretty comfortable on the road. I really do like the car, so I'm going to fix it. I mean, there's no reason not to. So I'm definitely going to do a video of doing the brake actuator on it probably in the next couple days, here around Thanksgiving with some time. But stay tuned for that. Just wanted to pop in about this first gen madness. See if maybe you guys have any input. Let me know what you think. Thanks for checking it out. Like, share, subscribe. Chris Basil Builds. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good Thanksgiving.